over this morning to Dr. Onya, who will take us through her journey, I would say, in study academia, and also talk a bit about, I'll let Dr. Onya do her thing. Over to you, Onya.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, Dayo. Let me just set my alarm so that I don't go over time. Morning, everyone. Next slide. Am I in control or are you in control? You're in control. Do you want me to share, Kyle? Oh, there we go. Okay, so this morning I will talk about modules, your modules and delivery. I'll talk about engagement and participation, and then I'll talk about assessment and feedback. And as I talk about these 3 points or these 3 elements, I will sort of include personal experiences as well, just to illustrate the points that I'm making. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is me on, this is 2021. I went to the Lake District and I did some kayaking. So if you've been kayaking or paddling, you probably will recognize the kayaks over there. And you can see how expansive and wide the lakes are. So I can't remember what lake this is in particular, but I had never gone kayaking before. This was my first time. And of course, the instructor, he gave us this short course on kayaking. And he taught us how to use the paddles. He taught us how to turn around when your kayak, if your kayak starts to go in the wrong direction. He taught us what to do in an emergency. And then one thing that he did do that was critical for us is that he pointed out certain places that were markers that we would be traveling in that direction. Because you're in this huge lake, the water is moving you, and the only thing that is keeping you in control is your paddling. And so if you stop paddling, the water will basically move you to some random bottom, eternal, just in the middle of the ocean. You're just there on your own. So he sort of said to us, our first stop is the lighthouse. He pointed out this marker, and then he told us what the second stop was, and then he told us where we would stop for a break and then how we would come back. Everyone's in this very, I don't want to use the word flimsy, light kayak. You're basically on your own in a way. I'm going somewhere with this. So the reason why I told this story about the experience of kayaking is because you need to start with a clear goal. Taiwo, next slide, please. You must have a clear goal for where you're going with your studies. So don't, you've registered, you've got your acceptance letter for your master's. Don't just come in randomly. You must set a goal for what you want to leave with. And this is exactly what I did when I was a master's student. So before I left Nigeria, I knew in my mind that I was going to get a distinction. I had it playing all through in my head that I'm going there to get a distinction. And if that's where you're going, that's where you're paddling towards. So again, back to the kayaking experience, while we were kayaking, and I'm a newbie, while I'm kayaking, trying to make it to that lighthouse, the water was busy turning me around. And of course, you're panicking because 1, I don't know how deep it is. 2, how do I keep my kayak in the direction that I'm trying to get to? Of course, the instructor taught us what to do in terms of how to turn your kayak in the right direction. Now, when I had that goal that I wanted to finish with a distinction, that did 2 things for me, really. 1, it helped me say no to certain things that would not get me to my goal. And it helped me say yes to certain things. So for example, when I was working, I got a job because I saw some other students getting jobs as well while studying. And at that point in time, the module I was doing at that time, I remember that was the lowest score I had. And to get a distinction, I had told myself that for me to do that, I need to get an A in every single module. that guarantees me a distinction. I don't want to see a B, I don't want to see a C. But the moment when I went and I copied other people and I got a job, I could not handle both. That's me personally. People were doing it, and to tell you the truth, people came in with different goals. Some people came in, they didn't mind the merit. I had a friend who said, if I can just get a merit, I'm happy. He had a goal too. That means that the amount of energy that you put into the work that you're doing will be the person trying to get a distinction and the person trying to get a merit. The effort that you put in will be very different. I'm going to be honest with you. So for me, I think the starting point is to have a clear goal. What do you want to graduate with? Have that goal in mind. The second point, I've put this here just in case, really. So your learning will either be hybrid. So for us, for example, in our program, we ran a hybrid the current cohort. And by hybrid, I mean it's a mix of remote and online. However, we're moving to fully on campus with the next cohort. Just in case you find yourself that your program is running a hybrid program, what that would look like for you is that you would have a asynchronous material that you have to work through. So there will be materials online for you to do some independent study. There will be readings, there will be quizzes, depending on what the module leader wants to do for you. I would advise you to always work through that material that has been put for you online. Work through it every week because it forms the foundation for what you will do in class when you get to class and meet with your module leader. And I'm going to be honest, when you come into class and you sit quietly, because some people have come from a background or countries where teaching and learning is quite didactic. And by that, I mean the teacher is just speaking to you as I'm doing, and all you're doing is receiving passively. It's very different here. Here, we're expecting you to be active learners. We're expecting you to engage and to contribute to these discussions. Some cultures, they're so used to keeping quiet. They're so used to not talking when the module leader or the tutor is speaking. But I cannot stress how important it is for you to actually engage and participate in that conversation because it helps your learning. I would advise you when you're learning, ask questions. You've paid so much money to come and do this master's. Don't stay quiet. If you don't understand something the tutor has said, ask questions. The other point that I want to talk about is your dissertation. It's never too early to start to think about your topic. When you're going through your modules, there might be a particular area that is of interest to you. If you identify a topic area or something that's interesting for you that you'd like to work on for your dissertation, speak to the module leader about it. I've had students where I've done a topic and they'll come to me, they'll send me an email almost immediately to say, that's what I want to do for my dissertation. If that's not my area, I can signpost the student to a colleague that I know that is their research area, and that colleague could potentially be their supervisor for the dissertation. That saves you a lot of time because you start to converse, you start to dialogue with that colleague, you start to plan the dissertation early, and then you can you can hit the ground running once term 3, at least for us, the dissertation starts in term 3, starts. So I would advise you start thinking about your dissertation early. The point on self-awareness, that's again what the story I told, which was I looked at my colleague, my peers who were working while studying, and I did the same thing. It didn't work for me. So know thyself. The one time I did it, I did not do well. I did not hit that goal of an A, but the others I did. And I'll talk a little bit more about that experience as I go on. I've talked about engagement and participation already and contributing to class discussions. Again, teamwork. When you're in a group, make sure that you actually contribute. Take advantage of peer learning. So don't shy away from teams. Don't coast in your teams. Do whatever you need to do to actually add value to your team. Next slide, please. So essays. When it comes to essays, one thing that I would say is make sure that you understand the assessment clearly, because if you've misinterpreted what the module leader has asked you to do, and you go off and you write this wonderful essay, I can guarantee you will still fail because you haven't answered the question that was asked of you. So one thing I would advise is when the module leader is conducting a formative session, because usually we should have a formative session where you ask questions about your essay, you ask questions about your draft. When they run those sessions, do not miss those sessions for anything. Attend them, ask questions about the assignment. What are you supposed to do? What are they expecting of you? When you see the word critical in your assignment, pause and ask the tutor, what do you mean by critical? Because they might say something like, critically evaluate XYZ, or critically reflect on XYZ. If you don't do that job of being critical, I guarantee you will not get that A. I promise you will not get it. My next point, which says look for examples or prior work, they will also include sample essays. I'm speaking from what we do at UCL. I cannot speak for other universities. We would normally have sample essays available for students so that you can see what a distinction essay looks like or a distinction group work looks like. Have a look at those pieces of work and try to understand why did they get a distinction. Now, in my personal experience, when I first joined, back to that goal, I had the goal to get a distinction. My first day, I asked who had a distinction in the previous cohort. They told me there were 2 students, 2 guys. I tracked those 2 guys down. One was in Birmingham. I can't remember where the other one was. I met with one of them. I asked him, what did you do? Can you send me some of your assignments? Can I see why you got a 70 or an 80 in this piece of work? I didn't care if he thought he knew what I was trying to achieve. He actually met with me, which was very kind of him. And this is a set before us. So this was the cohort before my cohort. I wasn't looking to see sample work that was merit because that's not my goal. My goal was to get an A. So I identified the 2 students that succeeded, and I wanted to copy what they did. I wanted to know, okay, what should I avoid? What should I do? And that's exactly what I did. And then the other thing that helped was every time, back to my first point, every time there was an assignment I wasn't clear about, I would track the module leader down. There was a module leader who, when I walked into the class, he said, uh-oh, here comes trouble. Like, he knows me. If I don't understand something, I'll raise it. When I get an assignment, and I'm quite competitive. So when I get an assignment and someone else got higher, I got a 72 in this assignment. My colleague got something higher. I went to her, I said, can I see your work? What did I do that did not get me those grades? And I sat down with her and I asked her, because it's about, I don't know if you've heard of deliberate practice or mastery, any kind of trying to improve regularly. You have to pinpoint, where did you go wrong? What can you do better? And that's sort of the strategy that I used. I sat down with tutors, tell me exactly what went wrong in this work. And they would talk to me, okay, you should have done this and not that. And that feedback helped with the following piece of work to make sure that the next assignment I got, I didn't make that same mistake again. So I would advise, especially if you're coming from a different country and you're not accustomed to the way that work is being done here in the UK, I would advise you to seek out exemplars. The other thing that I think is also really important is for you to read through the rubric or the marking criteria. And I'll show you a sample criteria in a couple of slides. I'll talk a little bit more on that point. So I'm going to move to the next point. Start early. Start your assignments early. Give yourself time to do the assignment well. Give yourself time to make mistakes. And then I'll move to the next point. Fail fast and iterate. So if you've ever read about the lean methodology by Eric Ries or Steve Blank, it's sort of an entrepreneurial concept. Do the assignment as early as possible, meaning have a draft, have an outline, send it to your module tutor or your module leader and ask for their feedback. I can tell you an example. So this cohort, I had certain students who sent me their outline for their assignments just before we closed for the Christmas holiday. And someone's mic is on. Just before we closed for the Christmas holiday, they sent me their outlines and I knew that they had missed it. In fact, almost all of them had missed it. I had to get, and I gave them feedback. If you do this, this is sort of what I'm looking for. Here's what the question is saying. And every single person that sent me an outline and got feedback, all of them got above 70. And I'm not the only marker. So it wasn't as though I was biased towards these people. And we mark anonymously in the first place. So you don't even know whose work is who when you're marking. So I would advise you, get that outline or draft to the module leader, or to your module tutor, or to your supervisor for your dissertation, and get their feedback. That's what that formative session is for. It's to help. Remember back to the kayaking example, when you're going in the wrong direction, the water is taking you, that instruction that our instructor gave us in terms of how to turn your kayak in the right direction. If you find you're moving, the water is pushing you. That came to mind and that helped us to stay on course towards where we were going. The next point is plagiarism. Now, this one is highly important. I advise that you not only avoid plagiarizing somebody else's work, avoid self-plagiarism. It causes all sorts of problems. So if you've submitted an assignment to module A, and then in module B, you decide, oh, that assignment A was wonderful. I'm just going to cut and paste some of what I put there and put it in module B. It's still plagiarism. You're plagiarizing your own self, which is called self-plagiarism. So avoid that at all costs. Ask for help. Ask for help. Don't stop. There's never enough. Don't stop if you need help. Ask your tutor for help. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. Ask your colleagues for help. If there's a learning and development team, ask them for help. I had that in my previous institution. Check in with them. They will read through your essays for you. They'll give you feedback as well. Next slide, please, Terry. So feedback, I already touched on this. Read your feedback. So when you do an assignment, not only are we just marking, we're not just marking the work, we're actually giving feedback so that you can use that feedback in the next assessment. Always read your feedback to try to understand where you got it right and areas of improvement. If you don't understand the feedback, contact the module leader, book a one-on-one with them. That's so we all have office hours. Book a one-on-one with them and speak to them about your work. Ask them those questions that I mentioned earlier. Where have I got it right? Where have I got it wrong? What could I have done to move to the next band? So if you find you've got 70s, how do you move to 80s? How do you move to 90s? How do you get that 100? Book that one-on-one with your tutor. In terms of the rubric, you can use, by rubric, I'm speaking about the marking criteria. When you get the assignment and the marking criteria will always be available to you at the start of the term. So when you start that first day, it should be online. Look at the marking criteria because that's the only thing we will use when marking. I won't look anywhere else. I will only look at the marking criteria to see if you have met that criteria. If you have not, we will not give the mark. We can't even give you the mark. So I advise you to look at it, and then you can use that marking criteria to self-evaluate your assignment. Once you've done your assignment, you can start to look at it. Taiwo, next slide, please. You can start to look at the rubric. So this is a sample rubric. You can see at the top that it's broken up into excellent, very good, satisfactory, basic, and elementary. You can also see the criteria that this rubric will be used to mark against. Has this person demonstrated understanding of knowledge issues and knowledge questions? Is there quality of analysis, characteristics, and each one has a band? For example, if I wanted to test for quality of analysis, I will look to see, are arguments clear? Are they supported by effective real life examples that are effectively evaluated? Are there counterclaims that are fully explored? Are there implications drawn from all that your analysis? If you've done all of this, so if you're self-evaluating your work and you look at your work and you see that I have done that first bit, you can almost determine what your mark will be at the end. And I'm going to just end with this bit in terms of assignments. I promise you, if you go to do, when you're writing your essays, now I'm talking about social sciences, I'm not sure what engineering looks like, when you're or the physical sciences, when you're writing your essays, avoid regurgitating what was taught. And by regurgitating, that means don't just vomit or pour out what the lecturer or what you heard in class. And you stop there. What we're looking for is critical thinking. We're looking to see that you can create knowledge, that you can bring together different pieces of information and actually say, analyze it, and then give us the implications of what you have analyzed. That will get you the top marks. That will get you the A's that you're looking for. I don't know why anyone will aim for a merit in their life. I just don't know. But I strongly recommend that you read your marking criteria, speak to your tutor, get clarity, and get that A. And I wish you all the best. Thank you. Hopefully I'm on time.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Onya. Thank you for that session, and a very warm welcome to those who joined us sort of midway. This is Succeeding at and Beyond University. It's a session hosted by Kingswood International Church, London, and is aimed at UK postgraduate students or potential students who are looking to come to the UK to study. So you've heard from Dr. Honya, who's an academic professional. You'll also hear shortly from Abimbola Oyekoya, again, someone who sort of made the transition from studying to working fully in the UK and you know, achieving really, really amazing things. And then obviously we're going to hear from Pastor Emmanuel Akilaja as well. So just a few housekeeping notes to reiterate. Please, when you join, when you are not speaking, please endeavor to make sure that your microphone is on mute at all times. And also, if you're joining from a mobile device, please make sure that you're actually seeing the device, because it can start to annotate our slides inadvertently. So once again, thank you very much, everybody, for joining this morning. I'm delighted to introduce Abimbola Oyekoya, who's our second speaker this morning. Abimbola is the founder of the Better Tribe, a community on LinkedIn set up to support immigrants to the UK by connecting them with information and opportunities. She is also a project delivery professional by training and currently heads up the Transformation Portfolio Office and also the Interim Benefits Management Lead for the HMLR, Her Majesty's Land Registry Transformation Directorate. Abimbola has significant experience of working in defence transformation, in particular a leading role in the development of common support models and underlying changes that deliver a framework for comprehensive support across the Royal Navy's fleet of warships, as well as wider diversity, equity, and transformation changes. Her background in management consulting and ethos of knowledge transfer and continuous improvement works well with her passion for delivering customer value. I'm delighted this morning to introduce Abimbola, who's our second speaker. Abimbola, over to you.
Thank you very much, Taiwo, and thank you very much, Dr. Onya, for your session. I imagine that if I'd had the opportunity to have that conversation with you before I started my master's, I probably would have reduced the amount of stress I went through, understanding the way that the university works here and how that you can actually start to plan from the start of a course where you want it to be at the end, how that no one is setting you up to fail, how that no one is targeting you, and that if they're showing you breakdown of what you should be focusing on, that's actually what you should be focusing on. So I moved to the UK in 2014. to do my master's course. So I'm just going to tell my story and hopefully it helps someone. So this is kind of something that I'm learning to do because I'm a quite private person. So I hope this is helpful for someone. So I moved to the UK in 2014 to do my master's course. My husband had come to the UK a year before to do his MBA. And towards the end, he just mentioned to me, because I was saying I wanted to do some short courses. He said, would you like to do your master's? And I said, oh yeah, I would. And that was how I started to apply to universities, well, to one university because I knew where I wanted to go. So I applied for an MBA, I got in, I applied for a scholarship, and I got it as well. So I moved in 2014 to do my master's. I think for me, when I started the course, it was a shocker, especially because when I was finishing my BSc in Nigeria, I had said to myself, I'm not going to school again, you know, because I felt like I had done everything. I had given all that I could to study because of the stress that I went to. So I went to a university in Nigeria, and the 4 years was quite trying, and I didn't think I wanted to go through it again. So when I enrolled on my MBA, I thought, okay, this is for 1 year. Let's see how we can make this work. I think when I started the classes, I started to meet my module leaders. I think I was just I was struck by how open and how caring these people are. They actually want to impart knowledge to you. I'm not saying that other people don't, but it felt like they were there to try to help me achieve what I wanted. So to your point, around setting a goal, when you start your study, I think that's a really key thing of understanding, what do I want out of this course? I think that was one of the things that really helped me. So when I started my MBA, I wanted to have a better understanding of how theory had developed to impact the experience in the workplace. So I ran a management consulting firm when I was in Lagos, Nigeria. And so I just wanted to take a year out to learn how I could serve my clients better, learn how I could be a better addition to the business world. So for me, I didn't go for the dissertation route. I had the option to do a management consulting dissertation, and what that was that you get a client that was willing to take you on for you to solve a particular business problem. So from the onset, I knew that that was what I wanted to do, and so I could plan towards that whole piece of work. I think that experience changed my view of learning, because after that I've done several trainings and trying to improve myself and learn more. So I think just to reiterate what Dr. Onya said, I think having a clear goal of what you want at the end of your course is important. I think I'll stretch that a bit further. I think for many people coming to school now, at least in my situation, I had a family. I had a 3-year-old son. I was married. And so it wasn't just about my course. It was also, okay, what was life after my course going to be like? And so, Tayo, can you move on to the next slide, please? So it was, yes. So it was, can you do the clicks for me? 2014, we're on now. So yes, I've talked about the fact that the year before I came, my husband came for his MBA, and then I relocated with my 3-year-old son to do my MBA. So that was another challenge for me, because I was caring for a 3-year-old and I was doing an MBA course. So I think understanding what the end goal was helpful for me, because I could split up my time to read and then take care of my child. So I was quite focused on those two things because they were the key things that I needed to do that year. The only other thing that I added on to that was volunteering. So because I knew that I wanted to, at the end of my course, start working or get a good job or start something, I wasn't quite clear what that thing was going to be at that point. One of the things that I started to do was volunteering. Because I ran a management consulting firm before, I was very used to doing a lot of things. So when I came to the UK and I had, school and my son to take care of, I still felt like there was something I wanted to give back. And I think that's the thing you're going to see across my story is volunteering. So I joined my church and I started to volunteer in the admin department so that I could start to understand how working in the UK was compared to where I was coming from in Lagos. So we were looking to start to live in the UK. So it wasn't just coming to the UK to study. We had a plan of, let's see what opportunities we could find in the UK. And so I needed to, in my mind, start to realign the way I thought about work by volunteering. And that was the approach that I took. I finished my MBA with a distinction. I scraped it, Dr. Tonya. Because I was one of those people that decided, if there was an opportunity to do some work, I didn't do a lot because I had to care for a child, but there was one particular opportunity that my university gave, and it was around fundraising for the university. So we had to fundraise by contacting previous students, and that was the first job that I took in the UK. So I was doing that with my studies, all night assignments, finishing assignments, getting the child. It was stressful. So I think the points you raised, if I had heard that, I would have streamlined a little bit, and cut off all of the extra things that didn't need to be there. But I managed to scrape through, which is quite interesting and helpful for me because I spent a lot of time working all those three things together. So after my so let me talk a little bit about my management consulting dissertation. So we got to the point where we needed to decide what we wanted to do. So you could either do a research paper or you could do a management consulting piece. And because I had a background in management consulting, I found that easier and in line with what I wanted to do. So I took an opportunity with the NHSBT, so the health service, blood and transfusion sector of it, and they had a particular topic they wanted a consultant to come and work on. So you do a little bit of research, so a survey research, and they make recommendations off the back of that. So that was the approach that I took. It was a lot of work because they don't say because you're a student, they don't ask you for the difficult things. So they assume that you're a management consultant coming into the organization to help solve a problem. And I think that gave me an opportunity to see how the world of work in the UK was like, especially in the civil service. And I think that one decision to take the management option was one of the things that set me up for being able to build my career in the UK. So after that piece of work, I had experience of working within the civil service. And then I decided I wanted to work in the civil service, especially because a lot of the projects that we did on my course, they were about the civil service and projects not delivering. And so I thought, let me go into the civil service, gain some experience, see how I can add value to that sector. And so I joined the civil service in 2016. I got my first permanent job with the Ministry of Defense, Defense Equipment and Support, which was quite an interesting organization because it was quite military. So we had a lot of uniformed people working with civilians, and the culture around there was quite interesting because you were trying to balance civilians and military working together. So I started with the project delivery function of the civil service in 2016. But then I carried on volunteering because I had seen the opportunities or the value that volunteering gave to me. So when I applied for my permanent role in the civil service, my volunteering opportunities were the key things that I put on my CV. So because I had done work, unpaid work, however, in the UK, more employers were willing to at least listen to what I had to say. So I got more interviews. It didn't mean that I got a lot of jobs, but I got the opportunity to then talk to people at interviews and share what I knew. So I wasn't banking on my Nigerian experience. I also had experience within the UK, working with people, leading pieces of work within the UK. So that really helped with applying for roles. Can you click on the next tab, please? Taiwo, thank you. So in 2017, so it's about 8 years journey. So in 2017, after working for about 1 year, building up experience in volunteering, I applied for another promotion at work, and I got it. So one of the things I realized is that the level of confidence that you have in yourself, the level of self-awareness, I think Dr. Onya also talked about self-awareness. I think you have to build that again, coming into a different culture. So in Nigeria, I was working with clients. I had clients, were making money, it was fine. You know, and then I got to the UK and everything just felt different. It felt like, am I really sure I can do all the things that I say I can do on my CV? It was that, there's a word for it, and it's just kept my mind. Imposter syndrome. Yes. So it was that imposter syndrome of, do you think the skills that you've gained or the experience that you have can deliver in this kind of culture? So I had to, over the years, I had to build self-awareness. I had to build my confidence again. And I did that through volunteering in different places. So I started with volunteering in the church, and then I moved on to volunteering with professional bodies. So for every specialism or every specialism, HR, project delivery, they would usually have a professional body that you can sign up to. And one of the things I started to do was to sign up to the relevant professional body for the role that for my profession, and volunteer with them. So that way I had insight into what was happening in the profession. I had insights into networking with people that were at the top of the profession, and that really also helped. So when it was time for me to apply for a promotion, I felt confident enough to say, yes, I've worked in this space for over a year now, or almost a year now, and I feel like the skills that I have can do better. So when I joined the civil service, I joined at a relatively lower than what I should have done, where I should have been, because I just couldn't see myself joining at a higher place. So I gradually grew my confidence, and then started to apply for more opportunities. Also, because we had decided as a family that we wanted to live in the United Kingdom and see the opportunities and grow our family here, we started to also look at opportunities out around us. So thank God for children that ask questions. So my son would usually ask us, because we're living in a flat, he would usually say to us, just out of the blue, oh, I wish we had a garden. I wish I had a garden. And so in 2017, we thought, oh, okay, there are houses that we can rent that have gardens. And so we started to look at, okay, what are the opportunities of getting a bigger house or a house with a garden? And the rent was just ridiculous. It was like twice the amount we were paying in a flat. And I think while we were looking, a picture of a new build just flashed up in that search. And we thought, okay, let's ask, what's the worst that can happen? They'll probably tell us, sorry, no, you can't, because we had this preconceived notion that because we're on a short-term visa, we weren't what's it called? We didn't have our indefinite leave to remain. We couldn't buy a house. And no one actually said that to us, but we're picked up from different conversations, that, until you become fully resident in the UK, things like that, don't even bother. But because my son kept pressing and saying, oh, what if we had a garden? And they would just tell us stories. And, we started to think, okay, let's ask the question. So that's, for me, that's one thing that for students that want to then live in the UK, become resident in the UK, is to pick up that ability to ask questions again. And I think Dr. Onya talked about that. Ask questions. If there's anything that you're thinking, okay, I'm not really sure, or somebody has said, just ask the question. And whoever you're asking will tell you what is possible. So because we had that preconceived notion, we had never thought about asking that question until my son started to press. And so after going into, we went to the showroom to ask the guy. We met a South African guy, and it was just so pleasant. And it was like, oh yeah, it's possible. And it felt like a dream, because if we hadn't taken the action to just do something about it, ask and then know whatever it was, we wouldn't have had that opportunity. So 3 years into moving into the UK, we got the opportunity to buy a house. And I think that really marked my mind. That really built my confidence to another level, in that I could, if I wanted something, I could find where I could ask the question and get the answer. For me, that felt like life is actually easier here. One of the places that we go to get information is gov.uk. So if you're in the UK and you haven't frequently visited gov.uk, please start to ask gov.uk questions, because everything you might want to know, there's information on there. And it's interesting to live in a country where there's information about everything that you might need to know. So you need to seek information, you need to seek opportunity, you need to ask questions, and keep asking, even if you're not clear. Because if you're not clear about something, people are always keen to help you understand. So don't feel like, oh, I would sound stupid, or it's a stupid question, or somebody will think something. If you need to understand something, just ask questions. I think asking questions is a key skill, especially if you want to start residing in the UK. So let's move on to the next year. So volunteering all through my years in the UK, volunteering has featured in different ways, shape, or form. In 2018, I had my daughter, and I took a career break, but I kept volunteering. So I found other skills that I wanted to develop, other things I wanted to know about. In 2018 was when I started my school governing volunteering. So I wanted to know more about the educational system. I had 2 kids, and I was going to help them work through the school system. So I wanted to know more. So I decided to start volunteering as a mother with kids, to just learn more, because I did in school here for my primary and secondary education. So I wanted to know how I could help my children through that system. So this is going beyond university. So next year, please. So after that, I went back into work. And one of the things I say to people when they're talking about migrating to the UK is, there will be challenges. I'm not prophesying doom. There will be challenges because you're moving from one system into another system, from one culture into another culture. There will be opportunity to misunderstand, not follow the process, or not do everything you thought you were going to do in the right way. So in 2020, that was the year that we had our challenge. We had applied to renew our visa. We had misinterpreted something in the process, and that led to a refusal. So we had to find an alternative way. And so I advise people that if you have the means, to get legal advice, it's usually between £150 and £250. Get legal advice for every application that you need to do. Just get a lawyer to look at it and tell you that, okay, this looks okay, and then you can do your application. So we learned the hard way because we'd been doing our renewals and it's been fine. So we didn't have an option B in 2020. But when it happened, we sought legal advice. We knew what our options were, and we started to look at other opportunities. So that got resolved in 2020. It took about 9 months, which is quite trying because it was in the middle of COVID and all of that. But it got resolved, and then I went back into work. And then the role that I got was also on another promotion because I was volunteering all through. So although I had the challenge, because I couldn't do anything else, I had to find a way to build my skills and experience. So volunteering featured in there as well. So next year, please. So after about 6 years of being in the UK, I started to think about what was happening around me. A lot of people were starting to migrate into the UK, coming as students, moving in with their families. And I thought, okay, this is an opportunity to support people in connecting them with support, with people, with network, with opportunities. Because I thought to myself, if I had someone or a group of people that I could lean on when I started, my journey would have probably been shorter and less stressful, especially in my first year in school. You know, the stresses that I went through would have been less. So in 2021, I thought, okay, what can I do to give back? You know, I have my story to tell. I have opportunities I can link people up with. I have networks that I can use to help people in making that transition from, you know, coming from a different culture into the UK to live and reside. So in 2022, earlier this year, I started a group on LinkedIn called the Better Tribe. And there's if you move on to the next slide, please. So the Better Tribe is basically around helping people who've decided to relocate to the UK to connect with network, to connect with opportunities. So it might be someone just thinking about, oh, I think I want to move to the UK. Or it might be someone that has just arrived and is thinking, okay, how do I make this work? Or someone that has been here for a couple of years, they migrated to the UK and they would want to support other people. And our objective is just to connect people with opportunities and create a platform for people to connect. And I think the slides will be available if anyone wants to look at this in more detail. If you go on to the next slide, please, Taiwo. And for the 3 months that we've been in existence, some of the things that we've done is to help people with placement opportunities. So in conversations that I've had with people who have come to the UK to school, they've had challenges with getting placement opportunities. So I've started to talk to people around me who could host students on placements opportunities to see how we can make that connection and make it just a little bit easier for people to link up and get placements opportunities so they can have work experience within the UK to support their study and then to join the world of work. There's also an opportunity for, so I talked about professional bodies. One of the ones that I think applies to every specialisms within world of work is about leadership and management. And so we've got an opportunity for people who want to join the Institute of Leadership and Management to get a 15% discount. I picked that particular one because they've got a CV builder, they've got tips on interviews, they've got tips on how to build your CV, of how to understand leadership and management, the different components of leadership and management. And the tribe is growing from there. And if there's anyone that wants to join, just find us on LinkedIn. We share information, share opportunities to help. So for me, it's been 8 years of understanding, unlearning, relearning, new learning, growing, you know, and attempting to live a significant life. So I think I'm hoping, not thinking, I'm hoping that my story has added some value in some way, shape, or form to people listening, and I might be thinking about, okay, I want to stay in the UK and live in the UK after my studies. Thank you very much. Over to you, Taiwo.
Oh, can we please give a virtual round of applause to Abimbola? Please, can you just show her some love in the chat? Let's just say a huge thank you. I don't know about you, but I sat here and I just found that so inspirational. The Better Tribe is on LinkedIn, as she said, so please make sure you connect with that group. I think she shared some nuggets there. For me, actually, it was interesting to hear so many similarities in our journey. So I finished university, I did my BSc whilst I had a child, and I finished with a first class as well. And one of the things I did at university at the time was actually going to volunteer for the university to help them raise money for the alumni. And I always say this because I'm so proud of it. I raised one of the highest amounts I had ever seen at university at the time, and I've sort of stayed friends with a lot of colleagues from what feels like 20 years ago. No, I'm not that old. But yes, so it's really, really beautiful to hear your story. Thank you so much for sharing that, Bimbola. I'm going to move us on quickly now. We're going to hear from, Pastor keeps coming in, but in a professional sense, we're going to hear from Emmanuel Akilaja, who's a senior HR professional. He is bear with me, I'm going to get the profile up properly so I can read. Yes, that's it. Emmanuel Akilaja is a senior HR professional. He's a chartered member of the Chartered Institute of for Personnel and Development, excuse me. He currently works as a deputy HR director for a top-tier university here in London. He holds a master's degree in human resource management from the University of Westminster, London. He is the executive producer for the Unbox Music, a collaboration of singers, musicians, and producers across the globe. He also serves as the senior pastor of King's Road International Church, London, and our principal host for today's event. Please help me welcome with so much Holy Ghost joy, Emmanuel Akilaja. Pastor Emmanuel Akilaja.
Taiwo, thank you so much. I can imagine the conundrum of trying to introduce me in a setting like this. So welcome once again to everyone. Dr. Onia, thank you so much for that session. Abimbola, thank you so much for that session as well. We just listening to you guys kind of talk about your experiences, Dr. Onia, talk about what people need to pay attention to if they want to get the right grades, if they want to get that distinction. Like Abimbola was saying, you kind of hear all of that and go, oh my goodness, why did they not do SABU, how many years ago when I started my master's degree? And I was just reflecting that I'm among the company of women who go first class, right? It's like everybody here is a first class candidate. It's such a privilege to be amongst you guys, because I finished my master's with a merit. What can I say? I'm going to say a bit more about why. You find out why I got the merit, right? But it's nice to be in the company of women who go first class. And it's amazing that when you're hearing about succeeding at university, you're hearing from people who have succeeded at university, right? And like Abimbola says, she has got a distinction while she was raising a child, while she was volunteering, and while she was acclimatizing to a new system and a new country. So there is no, you could want to put up lots of reasons why you will not succeed, but you can hear from people who have faced challenges and have overcome them to succeed at university, right? And to succeed after university. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to succeed if you can do what we're saying today, which is, set your goals, make your plans, and think about what it is that you want to accomplish at university and after university, right? So Dr. Onia has said quite a lot from the academic space, and I'm going to be sharing. There's something that Abimbola was saying while she was wrapping up, and that was actually my first line. I don't have slides like my other speakers today, but I just want you to pay attention to what I'm going to be sharing with you. I'm going to share my journey as well in a brief sense, and I'm going to say a lot about how you can accomplish things on the professional side. So I want you to kind of pay a lot of attention to that. And Taiwo, please do help me with my timing if I do overrun in any way. All right. So she kind of ended by talking about learn, unlearn, relearn. And for me, when I started my master's degree, I very quickly understood that, there were things that I'd learned, in my first degree, which was in economics. I spent a lot of time cramming things, memorizing information, and just pouring them out in the examination, right? There was very little that I took away from my first degree that I could use in my day-to-day life, or could even use at work. What I knew was that I got a degree, and I got a second class upper, a 2-1, a second class upper degree with honors. And I was like, okay, I've got a degree, let's go get a job, right? But I wasn't thinking, I've learned all these things in my first degree that I want to apply at work. But that was very, very different from my second degree, which was in human resource management, right? So I went to do the master's in HRM because I wanted to now transition in my career to working in HR. So coming to the UK and just getting into this system that is completely different from what I was used to, where people would be quite interested in you just regurgitating what it is that they've told you, or what it is that they have in a book that has been around for like 50 years, right? That was the kind of setting where I got my first degree. So it meant that I had to unlearn a lot of things. I had to unlearn the way I'd studied in my first degree. I had to unlearn what I thought was the expectations of lecturers or senior lecturers or the academics in my university. And I had to relearn how to pass, right? How to pass a module, how to pass and how to get, a really good grade. Now, I was aiming for distinction, but I obviously did not pay as much time as my co-learned colleagues in the room did with their courses. And I'll say more about why that happened, right? So I had to relearn a lot of things. And for a lot of us who are international students or who were international students who came into the country to study for the first time, you're going to have to do a lot of learning, a lot of unlearning, and a lot of relearning. One of the things that I didn't do any of, I don't even think it crossed my mind whatsoever, except for one module in uni, which was my inspiration for going to do my master's in HR in the UK, was that there was very little critical thinking, very little critical analysis, very little presentation of arguments in papers, in essays, in dissertations. Very, very little of that was happening where I studied, because essentially they wanted you to demonstrate that you could remember everything that you had been taught. So I felt like I had started understanding things for myself while I was going through my master's. I didn't just read to pass my exams. I had to understand the subject, and I had to understand the modules, because I was also interested in doing a very good job after university, right? I was doing this master's because I wanted to position myself to begin a career in HR. So it wasn't just enough for me to get a good grade. I wanted to position myself to be able to do a good job. So for me, learning was more about practice than it was about just accomplishing my studies or getting a distinction. It was more than that, even though those things were quite important. So for me as a student, I went to look for former students like Dr. Onya did. I wasn't thinking about, who got a distinction, which I think was an absolutely brilliant thing that Dr. Onya did when she started in her own education. But I found people that had done the course before, who were just finishing up. I'd done this in my first degree. I'd found people who had already gone ahead of me. I'd got to some of their notes. They had explained some courses to me. So I applied the same principles when I came to do my master's, right? And it really helped. One of the things I also did was, in my first degree, I wasn't the kind of person who went to the library, right? I spent time reading in lecture halls, but I never really went to engage in the library. In my master's, I went to the library quite a bit, not just to read in the quiet that is available in the library, but to also access materials. One of the things that you will also find in the library is materials of those who have studied before. They have papers in the library, they have essays in the library, they have dissertations in the library. And I was able to go there and read some of these things, kind of understand what people had said, what people had done before, so that it could influence my thinking where my own work was concerned. Like Dr. Onya was saying, I discussed results with lecturers after class. Why did I get this? What can I do better? I got support from the academic team, in the department, so that they could kind of see me through how I can do things better. And then, there were some of my colleagues in class who were pretty good, right? And for those colleagues in class who were pretty good, I would go to them and get support from them. I would go and ask them questions. I wanted to understand what it is that they were doing, that I wasn't doing, that was helping them to get those higher scores. And sometimes we would sit down, and I think, sometimes people are shy, they don't want to, or timid, they don't want to ask people for support. But listen to me, if you are getting your first degree, one of the things you need to learn how to do is be confident in asking support. If you need support, get support. Get support from the academics who are teaching you, get support from colleagues, get support from your team. If you are struggling, sit down with someone. You've paid a whole lot of money to get this degree. Don't come out of uni with some, poor grades. It's not just about doing the work. Sometimes you want to put the hours in, but you don't even understand what you're doing. So get understanding, right? Find people who can help you understand what you're studying so that you can get the right grade. Because if you understand it, you can do better with that. All right. And that's as much as I want to say on the academic side. I really want to spend a lot of my time talking about the professional side of things, right? So as a student, because I knew that I didn't just want to get a degree, I wanted to work in this field, I started looking for jobs, right? As a student, HR jobs. I started looking for HR jobs. And in general, I focused on getting office-based jobs. I did not apply for any job that was not in an office. As a student, I did not apply for any job that was not based in an office, right? I didn't want to add any other type of job to my CV that did not reflect office work, whether it was administration or HR or any of that type of thing. And I wanted a CV that said more than my master's degree by the time I finished my master's. I wanted to be able to demonstrate that I'd actually gained experience working in the HR in the UK, so that by the time I finished my master's and I presented my CV to someone, they would not only see the educational accomplishment, they would actually see that I've got UK-based experience, right? And it also meant that when I was now wanting to provide references, I was not only providing references from the educational establishment, I could provide references from a place of work. Okay, and that was really helpful for me, and I'll say more about that as we go along. All right. So, and I had to change the language and the tone of my CV to match that in the UK. When people arrive in the UK and they start looking for work, I say to them, I said, look, a lot of times, you've got language in your CV that reflects the country that you're coming from. And a lot of times, people that are based in the UK, they see these CVs, they're reading them, and whether it's recruitment agents or it's an employer, a recruiting manager, they can't always align what they are hearing you say to the job that they've advertised. All right. So what your CV is saying doesn't necessarily align to the job that's been advertised. So you need to take a look at your CV and then change the language and the tone and the descriptions in your CV so that it reflects the system and the country, United Kingdom. Okay, it doesn't matter where you're from, you kind of need to reflect that. And one way that you do this is to look at the adverts for those jobs that you want. I can do this job. This job reflects my experience. It reflects my qualifications. So you can look at the job advert, you can look at the job description, and you can say, okay, they've described what I've done in this way. It's completely different in my CV, but if I take those sets of words and put them in my CV, I can reflect my experience better, and it matches the job description and it matches the job that I'm applying for. And so once you do this, you ensure that the language and the terminology in your CV is consistent in the UK and for the job that you want to apply, right? And you can always find people to do CV reviews for you. But on many occasions, I will go on Google and I will search for free CV review, and lots of websites will pop up. I will go to the first one. I will give them my CV. They will give me feedback, and they will just give you light touch feedback. They won't go into too much detail, but they'll tell you things that you can immediately change. I will change all of those things. Then I will go to the next website and I will give them the newly improved CV. And then they will come back and give me more feedback. So over time, I use these services to get feedback, right? Some of them will say, look, we can charge you fees to do your CV review. But to be honest with you, it depends on what level of role you're applying for. I would say you can pay for a CV review, but I'll say, look, if you're starting out and you're just beginning your career, you may not need to do that. All right, but I will refer to something that you can use as I go along. Oh yeah, and if you're really serious, you need to get your LinkedIn profile up to date. Sometimes people want to connect with me on LinkedIn. They have no profile image. Their title or their status is blank. And I'm like, look, I can't see you. I don't know if I know you, and I don't know what it is that you're about, because you're essentially blank, right? But if you're serious about transitioning from studying to working, then go and build a LinkedIn profile. Get a really good image on there, get someone to take a photo for you, look nice, and write something there. Even if you are studying, talk about what it is that you're studying, talk about what modules you are doing at the moment. It tells people your journey. Are you listening to me? All right. And while I was studying, I was looking for work. Like I said, it was a job to apply for jobs. All right. So I would take time to read my books, to do essays, to submit them, and I will also take time to look for jobs. All right. I was combining all of these things at the same time, because I was not just interested in getting the degree, I was also interested in transitioning to working. All right. And I got support from the university's career service. So every university has got a department or a team that is dedicated to supporting students with getting jobs. You see, on the rankings across the world, whether it's the higher education rankings, whether it's the Guardian's university rankings, there are so many university rankings around the world. One of the criteria that they use for ranking is how quickly your students get jobs, and really good jobs, when they finish getting degrees from your university. So every university has got a career service, a team whose job is to help you get a job after you finish your course, right? They need to help you get a job so that the university can go up in the rankings. Are you listening to me? So I got a lot of support from the career service at my university. There was somebody there that I would chat with regularly, who would advise me about applying for jobs, who would advise me about things to do, where to go. He would send me links to jobs so that I could check them out. He would check my CV for me sometimes. I'll finish up an application. I would send it to the individual and say, can you take a look at my application? What do you think about how I've represented myself and how I've responded to questions, in the job description and things of that nature? So maximize the career service that you've got in your university. So while I was focusing on getting good grades, right? While I was focusing on getting good grades, I was also focusing on the purpose for the good grades. Okay? I'm not just getting grades for grades. It's not because I want to just put a certificate on the wall, but I'm getting these good grades because I want to get that job. So I did pay some attention to getting that job. And like Abimbola was saying, there are lots of professional bodies, institutes, associations that are connected to different careers or professions in the United Kingdom and around the world. You need to identify which professional bodies are connected to your field and what their expectations are of you if you want to be recognized in that field. I remember hearing quite recently the story of a young chap who wanted to become an actuarist. He had done his GCSEs, A-levels, he had gone to uni, done a fantastic job at uni, and then wanted to register with the professional body so that he could be recognized and he could progress in his career. And the professional body said, we're sorry, we have so many people applying, we can't take you on because you had a B, in your GCSE maths, right? And this person had already spent like 5 to 6 years after their GCSE maths before they found out that an exam they wrote 6 years ago was the reason why they could not progress in that career. If they had found out what the requirements of the professional body was while they were going through their education and getting the first degree etc., then they would have known that I need to go and rewrite my GCSE maths and get an A, because it can stop me from progressing in my career. But they had already spent so many years trying to build, the academic qualifications for this career and ended up not qualifying in the profession. So you need to understand not just what professional bodies exist, but what are the requirements for those professional bodies. I didn't know so much about this when I signed up to do my master's, right? I signed up to do a master's in a fantastic university, and they said, oh, when you finish the master's, you can do some work to get a licentiate membership, right? And so I didn't realize that, there were other universities that were providing, courses that would give you graduate membership of the Chartered Institute of Personal Development. So when I finished my master's, I had to do more courses to get licentiate membership. Then I went back to university like 3 years after and did another course to get graduate membership before I could then apply for my chartered membership, right? And so you need to understand, if you want to develop in a career based on what you are studying now, what are the requirements connected to that profession? And are you sure that the university qualification you are going to get at the end of your master's or PhD, whatever it is that you're doing, is sufficient enough to give you a good standing for that profession? All right. If you are not clear about this, please take note of it now and go and find out what that professional body requires of you for you to be successful. Okay, so now that I've been a chartered member, I think I've been a chartered member for like 10 years now. I'm already applying for chartered fellow because, you know, I've got all the experience and everything bagged, and I just need to put that forward to somebody in an interview. All right, this is so important for some careers and for other careers. In the UK, if you want to be an HR professional and you want to be really recognized these days, you need to have membership of the CIPD, the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. All right, if you see it on your CV, some jobs will say, look, you need to have this for us to even consider your application. And there will be jobs out there that will say the same thing where your own career or field is concerned. All right. And so I started working as a student. My first job was as a receptionist. I remember I was thinking, oh my goodness, you know, I'd never pictured myself as a receptionist. But don't forget, my goal was to get a job that was office-based. And I got a job with, you know, a huge healthcare institution. I would call them an institution, a company in the UK called Bupa. All right. And so I got that job, and then I also got a job in university. And one thing I want to say here right now is, in the workplace, don't just focus on doing a good job. You know, a lot of us have been programmed, you know, especially when you're coming from the global south, to just come and just go to work and do a great job, right? Don't just focus on doing a good job. Also focus on building relationships with the people that you work with. Relationships are so important for advancing in your career and for advancing in your work life. If you are just doing a good job and going away, it's possible that people will say that person does a great job. But when it comes to promotions, when it comes to advancing, you need to be doing more than just a good job. You need to be a very, very good people person. You need to be a very good people manager. You need to be able to connect with people. So don't just do a good job, connect with people. And I found from my experience of working that I was able to develop really good relationships with people that allowed them to help me to progress in my career, even when I was a student. I learned a lot about HR and the world of work from my colleagues, all right? And I got that first job as a receptionist through an agency. I remember that for a long time I'd been applying for jobs and nobody was even like calling me for interviews and stuff. And I had this conundrum, you know, should I put everything that I did, you know, where I came from, or should I limit some things? You know, they talk about the fact that, you know, I'm a pastor in a church, so I've done quite some work, you know, as a pastor. And so I was thinking, okay, how much of this information do I put on my CV? You know, I saw that, look, people are interested in knowing these things. So I just put everything on my CV, and then I got a phone call from an agency to do an interview. And then following that phone call from the agency, somebody fell ill at the receptionist job, and they said, let's call Emmanuel that we just interviewed to go and cover for us. I covered for that job for 4.5 hours. That was the job that opened other jobs for me. The moment I did that job for 4.5 hours, I went to the university. They were offering this admin job for those who were clearing, you know, those who wanted to come into the university. I got that. You know, I applied to be an HR volunteer at a children's charity, and I also got that volunteer role. You know, the volunteer role, they covered my lunch expenses, they covered my travel expenses. I worked there about 1 to 2 days a week while I was studying. And when I was on holiday, I went there for up to 4 days a week. You know, and I learned so much. I was able to put into practice all the things, a lot of the things that I've been hearing at uni. All right. So I was able to put into practice. All right. I knew that I wanted to transition to work in the UK, and I had to get that experience. And this HR volunteer opportunity gave me a lot of experience. They were teaching me how to do everything, like pretty much everything in HR. All right. And so that gave me a lot of experience. When I finished university, you know, there was a charity that was hosted by the charity that I was volunteering with. They gave me an admin job that was part-time. You know, just before I finished the admin job with that charity, another charity that works very closely with the charity I was volunteering with said, you know, we would like to give Emmanuel a part-time HR project role that he can do for us for a couple of months. I started doing that role for a couple of months. The charity that I was volunteering with decided that, well, if this other charity is paying you now that you graduated to do HR project work, then we are going to pay you as well to do the work they are doing for us. So I was doing 3 days with one charity, I was doing 2 days with another charity, and now I was getting paid for all the work I was doing, right? Like full time as it were, but working for 2 different groups. And then I decided that, okay, I don't want to be working for 2 different organizations. I want to work for one. So I applied for some jobs. Sometimes agencies felt like I wasn't qualified enough. But you know what? Even when agencies were saying they don't think I would be successful, I went ahead and applied directly to those employers, right? Because I thought if they won't take a chance on me, if you're not going to have confidence in yourself, who's going to have confidence in you? So I decided to apply directly to those places, and I was accepted, and I got my first permanent job in HR. I remember in my interview, they asked me, where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years time? I told the head of HR, I want to be doing your job in 5 to 10 years time. And in 5 to 10 years time, I was doing a job at that level. And which is why it's important for you to set those targets for yourself. The HR volunteer role gave me the opportunity to apply what I was learning in uni. It connected me to 4 other paid job opportunities. It connected me to my job at the university, the job at the charity where I was working admin, the HR projects role that they paid for, and eventually the paid HR role where I was volunteering. It was the foundation for my permanent HR career that I've had, for many years since I graduated from uni. So, and if you're planning to remain in the UK, I know Abimbola talked about this a bit, but if you're planning to remain in the UK after you finish your studies, then don't just focus on the graduate scheme visa. Focus on other visas, explore other visa routes like the skilled worker visa, explore the global talent visa, explore the global business mobility visa. Maybe you were working in your country before you came here to study, and your company can kind of, work things out for you. There's a high potential individual visa that is coming out at the end of May, at the end of this month. So you might want to explore that visa. The UK will sponsor people who come from 50 universities from around the world. All right, so think about that. And then there's a scale-up visa coming up in August. You may want to think about whether or not by the time you're finishing your dissertation, if you started in September, that is a visa that you might be able to use to kind of progress in your dreams to become resident in the United Kingdom. There's a list on the government website. Abimbola talked about it, www.gov.uk, and I think the link is in the chat. There's a list on the government website of employers who can sponsor you on the skilled worker visa following your studies. All right, we're going to put the link in the comment section so that you can go and take a look at all of those employers. You can start positioning yourself to apply for a job with one of those employers. Later this year in July, we'll be having a UK visas and immigration event, and you might want to subscribe to us so that when that event comes up, you can hook up and be a part of that event so that you can learn a bit more about UK visas and immigration as a whole. There's some questions you need to ask yourself as I round up. What do you really want to do after you complete this program at university? Don't get stuck in the wrong job. Some people do certain jobs so that they can, make money, and it's absolutely fine. While you're studying, you need some money to pay the balance on your school fees and things of that nature. That's fine. But don't get stuck in the wrong job. Be clear what you're doing for money and have a transition plan to get into your dream career or your dream job. All right. Think about what other qualifications or memberships or associations that you need alongside your degree. And finally, what are you going to do or what are you doing already to transition into a longer term visa? Thank you very much, everyone. Taiwo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Pastor Emmy. I hope you all have found that absolutely sort of inspirational as I have. And I just want to say thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Yes, please help me show Pastor Emmy some love in the chat window. A round of applause, huge thank you. I think there were a number of nuggets within that conversation. I think for me, what stands out when I hear Pastor Emmy's story is you can have a direction, but still it can be diverse. It can be so diverse. Even if you have a focus and say, I want to be a structural engineer, or whatever it is, you can still bring diversity into your journey. You own that journey and you go out and make it what it is. Thank you, Pastor Emmy, for that. A huge thank you to Abimbola and a huge thank you to Tonya. We're going to take a very, very short break. So please go and get a cup of tea. Go and get people that you know should listen in on this to come back and join us. What we're going to do now is we're going to bring all three panelists back together. So we'll have Pastor Emmanuel, we'll have Abimbola, and we'll have Dr. Onya to come in and just share key nuggets, you know, around what we've been discussing over the last hour plus. And also then give you an opportunity to ask questions as well. So we're going to take a short pause. Please join us back at 12:35. Don't go away. Go and update your WhatsApp status, you know, get everyone to come into this meeting and get some value. Thank you, everyone. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So we're gonna have our panelists in the front row now, and we're gonna have a conversation about their journeys. So if you've, what's the word? If you have any questions, I think that's the first place to start. Please put them in chat or send them to myself directly if you have any questions for our panelists this morning. But we're just going to sort of kick off with a bit of a sort of panel discussion and talk about, sort of bring all of the three conversations together. And, just talk about, your career journey, sort of transitioning from studying to where you are today. So I'm going to come to you first, Dr. Onya, if that's okay. If there was something you could tell the version of yourself that arrived at Heathrow, Gatwick, whatever it is, when you first got into the UK, if there's something you could go back and tell yourself now that what would it be? And I'm going to come round to all three panelists. So Abimbola and Pasemi, just start having a think about if there's something you can go back to tell that version of yourself when you first arrived here with sort of a blank slate, for want of a better word. If there's something you can go back and tell that version of yourself now, what would it be?
I think for me, because I already sort of had the academic side down, and because of that goal, I wanted distinction. What I did was I closed off everything else. I wasn't socializing. I wasn't doing anything but studying and trying to work. So for me personally, I would go back and tell myself socialize, like make friends. Like it wasn't that I didn't make friends. I had friends, but really I had friends because they were doing well and they were doing good. Like, okay, I want to connect with the really bright students. And we sort of moved around together. So I personally would say go and socialize a bit more, because Pastor Emi said something that I love when he was talking. He said at work, don't just go there and be excellent, build relationships. And to be honest, at work, I just come in, hide in this room. I do my work and I run out quickly. So this is what I would tell myself.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Dr. Onya. Pastor Emi?
Yeah, I think, what would I have done differently? Maybe get more out of my connections. So I had a lot of really good relationships, and I had a lot of things happening with colleagues and stuff. But I would get to a certain point afterwards and kind of realize that, oh, if I had asked that question, I would have gotten this answer that would have, changed the trajectory of my life, right? So I was finding out things later on about visas, about work, about opportunities that were available the whole time. But because I didn't ask the questions, or I didn't, think I could get that out of that relationship, I didn't get that benefit. So I would say to myself, look, have conversations with people and find out what they're doing. Like, find out what people are doing. Like Abimbola was saying, like, she bought a house in 2017. It's like, nobody told me that, nobody was saying, like she said, nobody was talking about the fact that you could be buying a house as a migrant, right? I think, you want to, get your visa sorted. I tell people that my British passport is my first house, right? Where Abimbola says she's got a house and she's got a British passport, right? So it's like, there's a lot you can accomplish even as a student or even post-university, right? And that's why we're having events like this, so that you don't have to wait 5-10 years afterwards before you realize that, oh, you mean I could have gotten all of those benefits while I was an international student, while I was studying? It's like, oh, thank you very much, Kingswood London, for putting this event together. So that's what I would tell my old self.
Thank you, Pastor Emi. Abimbola?
I think I would tell myself to be more intentional. I think I was one of those free-flowing, it'll be okay, it'll be fine, and then you have a conversation or something happens and then you're like, okay, let's do better. I think I would have told myself to be more intentional about everything. The fact that I had to go through a lot of stresses to get to where I am today. If I had phased things out, you know, just going back to what Dr. Onya said, I feel like we could rewind 8 years back and just start MBA again. It would have been a lot easier. Not that MBA is easy, but it would have been easier than what I went through, you know. So setting goals frequently, you know, I think that has helped me in the last couple of years. It's just thinking, okay, so this phase of my life, what do I want it to be like, you know, and then working towards it. I think that kind of focus would have really helped me 8 years ago, although I've had to grow and learn and, you know, get to a point where I'm doing that more regularly now. So for me, it would be more intentional. One, know yourself, love yourself that you know, and be intentional about growing. Because there's a lot of change. It's a big change to move from one country to another, and you have to love yourself enough to be able to take the opportunities you see, so that you're not turning everything into a negative note, into I'm not as good as that. Oh, I couldn't do that. You know where you are, and then be intentional about growing, and, you know, being better, whatever better means for you.
Thank you very much for that, Bimbola. So I guess just to sort of play back for the audience, what I sort of wrote down when all three of you were speaking was, you know, I think Pastor Emi, you spoke there about you being more mindful of your network and using it effectively. I think Dr. Onya said, you know, network as well. Don't work in a bubble, you know, come out of your shell and you know, be proactively looking at how you sort of build and grow your network. And then Abimbola spoke there about being intentional, setting goals, knowing yourself, knowing your worth, and sort of using that positively in terms of opportunities. So I'm gonna sort of build a bit more on that being intentional, but I'm gonna come at it from the point of when you sort of make that transition from a sort of on a location level. You know, what are some of the things that the panel can share this morning with people that, you know, maybe are thinking about coming to the UK or are here already? That is quite a big move, like Abimbola said there just now. How do you actually make that transition? What are some of those, I don't know, top 3 things that people need to know sort of right here, right now? I think, Abimbola, you might have, I'll come to you first if that's okay, because I think you mentioned of the UK. I think from a sort of learning, immigration, visas and all that sorts of thing, it really resonates in that space. But Dr. Onya, we want to hear as well your thoughts around, you know, coming into an educational establishment, just brand new. You spoke there around sort of the dichotomy of, you know, learning, having someone speak to you, which is what is traditional where we come from, but, you know, it's very different here. I think, Pastor Emi, I'll come to you on this question around, you know, recruitment, HR, some of the things you spoke about when you were talking earlier. So the focus of the question is, how do people make transition or make that transition, whether they're coming from Africa or sort of the United States into the UK? What are some of the top tips that you can share with people sort of when they arrive, besides trying to find a cab from Heathrow Airport to get to where they need to get to? Thank you. I'll come to you first, Abimbola, if that's okay.
Thank you, Taiwo. So I think one of the key things will be the fact that you have to be a good planner. So you have to be able to plan per time. So understand your current situation. What have you got? Because that helps you to understand what the key things you need. So I'm talking about planning in terms of financial planning as one, your intention, your goal, what you're trying to achieve, what's the reason why you're moving from wherever you are to where you're going to, and understanding what are the constraints you've got. So what financial constraints might you have, because that determines what decisions you need to make. So I'm married to a chartered accountant. So that has really helped me, because I would just think, okay, everything will just work out somehow. But my husband would say, okay, let's put pen to paper. What do we know about today? What do we know about what we have today? Because that would inform the decisions you need to make and the options you need to take. So you have to learn about planning, because in the UK, you have certain bills that would come every month, whether you like it or not. So you need to understand your financial situation, because if there's less financial stress, it makes it easier for you to then think and create. So for me, it will be learning good planning skills. The other thing will be seeking information. I think that's a critical part that would help, is seeking information about this new environment that you've moved to. There's a particular test that you take when you want to become when you want to have your indefinite leave to remain. It's called Life in the UK test. If you're planning to come to the UK, start reading that book before you move. Don't wait till when you're here, because I had to read. Well, I'm still reading it right now, and there were just a number of things that I realized about the culture of the UK that I thought, oh, if I'd known this several years ago, I would have not been stressing on some things, so it helps you understand the difference in culture. What are the things that are acceptable? What are the things, what's the history of the land? Why do people behave the way they behave? So seek information. We've talked about gov.uk. There's a lot of information on gov.uk about virtually everything. Everything, I don't know, anything you can think about, ask gov.uk. You know how people say ask Google, ask gov.uk. And then the third thing for me would be ask for help. Seek support, ask for help. Don't be shy. Don't feel like, oh, when you ask for help, it means you're not in control. The truth is, you're not in control because you're learning. So ask for people to support you in whatever decisions or whatever situation that you're in. Ask questions, seek clarification, play back what you're hearing to people so you're on the same page. I think one of the things that I kind of found difficult was being misunderstood. So I'm speaking English in a way that someone is understanding this in another. So I think for me that was a key thing. So ask questions, and don't be shy to ask and ask again. So I would usually, when I feel like I'm asking too many questions, I'll usually just joke about it and say, okay, I might ask you this thing 8 times, just bear with me because I'm trying to understand. So that way I've taken away all that stress of, oh, is the person thinking I'm stupid, or whatever it is that is playing in your mind around you asking questions. So be a planner, learn good planning skills, seek information, and ask for help. I think those 3 things are key for me.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Abimbola. So Dr. Onya?
I think for me, the first one, I'm taking this from Abimbola actually, is I thought it was powerful. She said, learn, unlearn, and relearn. Now, if you're transitioning, I think that is key, because the way you were doing things back in your home country will not necessarily be what worked there might not work here. Even though, you have proof, you did X, Y, Z, and you got your A's, but when you get here, you will try that and it'll backfire. And this is from personal experience. So my very first essay assignment, I didn't fail, to be honest, but I did not get the mark I wanted. I think I had 62, I had a 60 something in this first essay, but I was aiming for like 70s, 80s. And it really hurt because that's an expectation not met. I'd put in my best, I submitted my work, came back and I saw 60s and I was gutted. So I started going around like, okay, who had the highest in this assignment? I found the student who had the highest and I asked her, can I just see what you did so that I know where I went wrong? And then I spoke to the tutor. Now I realized that coming from Nigeria, the way we write essays is really descriptive and I'm going to be honest, I didn't want to say it's really copy paste. There's no thinking happening. You're just sort of, here's what you taught us, or here's what we copied off someone else. And she had gone the extra mile. She had done the good work. I don't know how she knew to do that, but out of everyone, she was the one Nigerian student who stood out and got that A and got that really high score. So I would advise you, if you're transitioning, whether you're transitioning from the UK to the US or UK to somewhere else, or Nigeria to the UK, if the culture is very different from your culture, there's a distance between the cultures, find out how things work. And you can find out by speaking to people who have been there already. They've walked that journey. Go and have a chat with them. Ask them for illustrations. Can I see your work? Ask your tutors, can I see a sample? And I think that there's something about, this is not necessarily Nigeria, but it could be, our culture is very much, like, it doesn't really encourage confident speaking out. When people older than you are speaking, at least for me, my mom, when someone older is speaking, you keep quiet. You listen, basically, you don't talk. That's not what they're looking for here. So when I was a PhD student, my supervisor was the head of our group. So I was in the strategy group, strategy and international business. He was the head. And we had this big away day where we had to strategize for the following year. And everyone kept talking and making comments and bringing up suggestions. I had ideas, but that training of don't speak when people older than you are speaking just silenced me. And the other professors looked at, and other students were like, Onya, why are you talking? And my supervisor said, don't worry, she's full of ideas. He just sort of made an excuse for me. I just could not talk. But the truth is, you have to unlearn what looks like respect in Nigeria, looks like passivity, and you have no lack of confidence here. Do you see the difference? In Nigeria, it looks like respect. In the UK, it looks like lack of confidence, and it will work against you. So you really have to understand, where are you and what is required, what worked there, what worked here. So that unlearn and relearn is key. And you can apply that in different settings if you like. I think the other thing for me is that I was going to talk about asking for help. Well, Abimbola already did that, so I won't even go there anymore. But just to add to what she said, in terms of academics, don't feel intimidated by any of your module leaders or module tutors. The truth is that we want you to do well. As Pastor Emi mentioned something, he said in the rankings, they look at how students get jobs at the end. If you didn't do well, how will you get that great job? That means that it is actually for our good. It's for the university's good that you do well. Now, if you don't engage and you don't contact us or you don't ask questions and you go ahead and you do the work and it doesn't come out right, the truth is that there really is, you can't really say the support was not there. It's there. There's loads of support. We're available to you. We have office hours. I have students who email me after a module or after an assessment and they didn't do well. And I book a one-on-one with them because I'm going to tell them why they didn't do well. And I'm going to say to them, this is exactly what I was looking for. And I ask them, did you give me this? And they'll say no. And I say, why didn't you ask me? And they'll confess, they'll say to me, to be honest, I didn't really understand. And I say, next time, stop me in the class. Onya, I don't understand. There's certain students, they'll stop me in the middle of my lecture. They'll say, Onya, can you go back to that point? And I will. And this is what I'm looking for. Some students will challenge the argument that I put forth. This is what we're looking for. That kind of confidence to be able to think critically and voice your point. And you know one thing, those students stick in my mind. Those students stand out for me. And I noticed something. When they submit their work, these guys do really well. I cannot lie to you. I'm not expecting anything less than an A from them. So I would encourage you, ask for help. Ask your personal tutors, because you should get a personal tutor. At least we do that. You'll have a personal tutor, and then you have your module leaders and your module tutors. Communicate with them. Then my third point will be, start early. If you're thinking of doing a PhD, don't wait for, oh, I'm graduating. I think I might want to do, no. From that term one, you should already know, do I want to do a second master's or do I want to do a PhD? And the reason why I say this is because I've noticed that there's some students from a particular country, and I won't say where, by the end of term one, they've already applied for a second master's or a PhD. They're already hounding me with, can you write me a reference? And I'm thinking, well, only in term one, like, can you not give me a break? These students are relentless when it comes to, this is what we want to do, and they move early. Now, many of them already have admissions. They already have their admission letter. I have a Commonwealth scholar from Nigeria. He already has his admission to Cambridge for a PhD. He got it in term one. This is term three. He told me, I worked with him. He said to me, here's my proposal.
Oh, Oni, I'm interested in doing a PhD in this topic area. And I said, cool. And I told him, these are the two people within our department that are strong in that area. Email them. He came again and said, Onya, I've got an interview with Cambridge. I worked with him to prepare for the interview for Cambridge. Now he has his admission. He's not waiting till he graduates from us to start to apply for a PhD or to start to apply for a job. He's done that early. So I think my third point is start early. Like, ask yourself, what do you want to do after this master's? Is it to work? If it's to work, start applying for the job now, especially if you're looking to be sponsored by the company. So if your visa is running out by the end of your program, that's not the time to start to look for who will sponsor you quickly. Start from term one. So those are my 3 points, Tyra.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Onya. Pastor Emi?
Sorry, just had to unmute myself there. I think Abimbola and Dr. Onya have nailed it so much. So let me see what I can add to what they've said already. Number one, I would say find a support person or a support group, like a local church, a mentor or some other group. It could be a professional body. It could be like the tribe that Abimbola shared with us that she set up. Find a support group. Find people that can show you ropes. Don't reinvent the wheel, right? Somebody's already been through it. They've already done that. They've already been there. They've already suffered. So why do you need to suffer, right? The reason why we have succeeding at and beyond university is because we don't want people to suffer what we suffered. So we are bringing people who've been through this, who can now tell people, show people the ropes so that they can succeed at a much easier fashion because they know what to do. So find a support group, find a support person. In terms of work, I would say build relationships with recruitment agencies. And you might be wondering, how do I do this? So a lot of times when you go on job boards, and there are so many job boards, I think we can share a lot of job boards, totaljobs.co.uk, read.co.uk, indeed.co.uk, monstercv.co.uk, cvlibrary.co.uk. You've got changejobs.co.uk, you've got jobs.ac.uk, you've got government jobs as well. You've got charityjob.co.uk. So there are lots and lots and lots and lots and lots. All right. If you didn't catch all the websites, we'll try and put some of them on the chat. But you can go and watch the video on YouTube, and you can just catch all the details there as well. All right. So go to these websites, find the kind of jobs you're looking for. A lot of times, some of these jobs are advertised by recruitment agencies, right? So you may not feel like you can apply for the job today, but you can get the detail of the recruitment agency and send them a direct email to introduce yourself and to share your CV. All right. They look at your CV, they'll reply you. They know you're not applying for any job, but recruitment agencies are looking for people. And let me tell you this, there is scarcity of people. There are more jobs than there are people. This year, I have been recruiting into my team at least, I think I've done maybe like at least 7 to 10 recruitments this year in my team, right? And I have interviewed maybe over 20 people this year already, right? There is a scarcity of people for jobs. Right, we go out and they say, look, your salary is small. People, there are too many people giving people jobs today. Your salary is small. You need to add like 10K to your salary because there are not enough people. So when people say they can't get a job, I'm like, what exactly is it that you're doing? Because we can't get people. So there's something wrong somewhere. Somebody's not doing something right. They're saying they can't get a job because there are more people than we have. There are more jobs than we have people. It's just about looking for people, right? We are looking for people. So engage with recruitment agencies. Start having those conversations now. Like Dr. Onya was saying, it's not when you finish your course, you're going to start looking for your job. You're looking for the job now. The same way you're applying for your PhD from term 1, you're applying for jobs from term 1. And I was still sharing with somebody earlier today, and I know somebody who's still on a student visa and has gotten a permanent job in a tech firm, right? Because they've already been able to transition with the firm, what that journey is going to look like for them. So you need to start thinking about this. What is that going to look like for me? And how can I build a relationship with recruitment agencies so that you can start putting your CV forward, all right? I get a lot of CVs. I immediately see the name and I'm like, oh, this is a Nigerian, right? Who's just come from Nigeria. They're trying to get their first job. And I'm like, this recruitment agency is already presenting their CV to me. So recruitment agencies are looking for people. Make sure that they can find you and they can put your CV forward for jobs. All right. And then finally, it's connected to what Abimbola said. It's connected to what Dr. Onya said. It's learn the culture. Learn the culture. You see, I tell people a funny thing when they get to the UK. I say to them, I say, go listen to the radio. I mean, when last did you listen to the radio? I was like, put the radio on and listen to the radio. Listen to how they talk in the UK. Listen to their perspective, all right? Understand the United Kingdom. You want to work in the United Kingdom? You want to stay in the United Kingdom? Listen to the radio. Listen to those conversations on the radio. I tell them, go and watch a soap opera, like not Naval, sorry. I've forgotten this street, Coronation Street. Right? Somebody's like, Pastor, they're telling you to go and watch a soap opera. Yeah, go and watch Coronation Street. Just look at the way that they're talking. Look at the way that they're engaging themselves. Look at the confidence that people have engaging themselves in these soaps, right? That's the United Kingdom. And I say, oh, well, that's a bit of a thing, But generally, it's like, where else can you really go, maybe besides uni? Because a lot of times, even in uni, all the students with you, a lot of them might be from another country. See, you're not going to learn the UK culture from the other guys in the room, as it were, because a lot of them might be from another part of the world, just like you are. But you can learn a lot from just observing what's happening around you and kind of getting an understanding of how the culture works. Like Dr. Onya is saying, you need to be able to speak at the table. A lot of times people will be invited to meetings and they will not talk. The people I mentor, I say to them, I say, look, if they invite you to a meeting, if they ask you to be at the table, make sure you do not leave the table without saying something. I said, from the moment you walk into the room, be asking yourself, what if you're not the one who is chairing the meeting or you're not like the manager of the meeting, ask yourself, what am I going to contribute to this conversation before I leave? Because you don't want them to be calling another meeting and be saying, well, we didn't really need that person because they didn't say anything, so let's not invite them back. You want to make sure you make a contribution. It doesn't matter how small, but let your voice be heard at the table. Whether it's in uni or when you get your first job, make a contribution. Ask yourself, what can I add? I had this sticker, MS Office has this sticker on the desktop, and I put a sticker there. What can I contribute to my work? What can I do for the workplace today? What can I create for my workplace today? Because when I leave this place, I want a lot of things. Can you just imagine when you resign and go to another job? They're like, who did that? That was Emmanuel. And who created that? Oh, that's Emmanuel as well. And who did that? Oh, that's Emmanuel as well. And my name is all over the place because I have created things, right? Yeah, I've created things. So it's not like people are trying to, I didn't just fix stuff or amend stuff. I have created things from scratch, right? And all that people can do is improve stuff I've done. So make sure your voice is heard wherever you find yourself, right? If you're volunteering, make sure you make a difference. The people I volunteered with could recommend me for jobs because I wasn't slacking off volunteering. They're not paying me so I can go there and sleep. No, I wasn't sleeping. I was working more than the people they were paying. Now, so people, look, this is the other thing. In the United Kingdom, they'll say, look, volunteering, they're ripping people off, they're not paying them. Some people can't afford the etc, and I completely understand all of that. But if you get an opportunity to volunteer, please do not waste that opportunity. Maximize the opportunity. While everybody is busy chatting away about it being slavery and all those sorts of things, that is your springboard for that job that can change your life forever. So please, not only should you go and volunteer, you should maximize the opportunity. The employer should maybe even feel ashamed that they are paying some people money to do a job, and you, the volunteer, are producing more than that person is doing. They will give you a job. Honestly, they will be like, look, let's pay this person because they are doing such a fantastic job. We don't want to have trained them and somebody else has ended up doing it. When I became, I know how much volunteering benefited me in my career. When I became the manager of a team, I got the budget to set up volunteering, right? So I got people coming in, they volunteered with us, I helped them. While you are volunteering with us, you will learn all of these different things, right, in HR, and we will set you up to get your job. We had people coming in to volunteer and they will go and get an HR job somewhere else. People will come in to volunteer, they will get HR job somewhere else. The last person who volunteered before I left that organization, a job came up as an HR officer. And I said, look, it's an opportunity here. It was a Nigerian as well. Everybody else is, I've got people from all over the world, but this was a Nigerian. I was like, we have to help our people. So I said to the volunteer, I said, look, there's an opportunity here and you can really maximize this opportunity. The other thing is that you don't want to give somebody an opportunity and they fall your hand, which being interpreted means that you are embarrassed. They put you to shame with their performance, right? Their attitude to work and their performance at work embarrasses you. So I said to this person, I said, look, if I'm going to put you forward for this job, like I'm the manager, you need to demonstrate that it was worth it, right? This is like almost 5 years ago, the person that has a permanent job in that organization, not only did they get that opportunity, which was fixed term and part-time, now they have a full-time permanent job with that organization. Why? Because the person maximized the opportunity. So opportunities will always come. Make sure you maximize it. The point I was really emphasizing there is learn the culture so that you can do the best job possible in the United Kingdom. Thank you, Taiwo.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Pastor Omi. And just as you were speaking there, I just wanted to reiterate a particular point that I keep hearing sort of in the professional space. In my day job, I sort of head up cultural transformation. And there's something we call social capital. So when someone makes an investment in you or they're supporting your career or supporting your goal, they're actually spending a currency, and if you don't express that in a way that speaks to that person's investment in you, then that's what Pastor Emi was talking to there about, in our Nigeria speak, it means you've fallen that person's hand. You've not demonstrated, the value that that person's brought to the organization. By them being there and being connected to you, you've honestly not used that currency exchange really well. So a huge thank you for your insights there, Pastor Emi, Abimbola, and Dr. Onya. We'll move very quickly now to the Q&A. This is the opportunity to give all of you participants who have stayed on all morning and sort of afternoon now, the microphone. So this is your chance to ask questions. This is your time to connect with Pastor Emi, Abimbola, and Dr. Onya. This is your, opportunity to ask those really burning questions. And the first person who sort of put a question in the chat is Femi Abiodun. I don't know if you want to unmute your microphone if you're in a quiet place, and please ask your question directly. Are you able to unmute yourself? We'll take that as a potential no. So the question is, can an MBA holder apply for a PhD? And I'm going to sort of put that question to Dr. Onya, but also Pastor Emi, maybe that context again of work, having a MBA. I assume this person's probably in the UK, they're already doing an MBA or they've finished an MBA and they're thinking about going on to a PhD.
The short answer is yes, because when I was doing my PhD, there was one of our colleagues, he actually came from his undergrad. So I think it was the first person I saw who came straight undergraduate to PhD. I'm sure there are many others like that. But most of the people I knew had some sort of master's or some sort of intermediary degree that they had passed through before coming. But short answer, yes, you can.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Dr. Onya. Abimbola and Pastor Emi, I don't know whether you wanted to bring anything into that conversation in terms of transitioning from different courses into the world of work? In your experience, it might not be the case, but what have you seen that sort of worked a bit better for people transitioning, I don't know, from a project perspective or HR perspective? I think Bastemi spoke a bit about, you know, getting a professional qualification. So do we want to sort of elaborate on that a bit as well?
Yeah, I can say that, you know, I think depending on what it is that you want to do, you know, you might be doing a master's degree now to kind of get your foot in the UK. But the question is, you know, is that all that you need to be successful in building a career in the UK? Right? And you need to be very clear about that. And one way that you can be clear about that is go and look at the kind of jobs you want to do. What are they asking for besides the qualifications? Qualifications are good, you know, but I think if you're going to do a PhD, fantastic. I mean, you can probably go straight to go and do some more study and do some more research and be an accomplished doctor, right, when you finish your PhD. If you want to go and work, then you probably need a bit more than just the qualification, depending on the kind of work you want to go and do. So you really do need to explore what other courses and stuff you want to do. There are some PhDs that are paid, right? So a company wants someone to do research for them in a particular field on a particular subject. They will give the university 100 grand, 200 grand, right? And they say, look, there's this grant, and then you become the paid researcher on that grant, right? To do that research, and it can lead to a PhD. So you can go to universities and they have paid PhD programs. You sign up, you tell them what your proposal is, they take you on, they will pay you for about 3 years, sometimes 4 years, mostly 3 years, but it can go up to 4 years. And some of these PhDs include like sorry, I had a phone call coming through, you know. So some of this will require you flying out of the country to go. Okay, enjoy your life, but you're really doing research, you understand? So there are lots of opportunities like that you can maximize, and you can see whether or not that is something that will be of interest to you.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Bastemi. Okay. I want to encourage, we have a significant number of people joining us today, and I want to encourage you to please take this opportunity to ask our panelists questions, any of those burning questions that you may have. I'm going to come sort of to the next point that I had in terms of the panel session, as we're still waiting for people to sort of get their questions together. And it was the focus of the question is around finding opportunities. I know we've spoke a bit around, you know, around that topic actually, but I want to sort of bring it to life a bit more for people. So how do you go about, you know, it could be things very basic. You know, when I said the comment I made earlier around, you know, helping people so they don't arrive at Heathrow Airport and have nowhere to go. I actually know someone who came to the UK to study and got to Heathrow Airport, didn't have a taxi, had no idea how they just sort of miraculously assumed that when they get to the airport, they will sort of, I don't know, get a bike or something to get them to where they needed to be. And the reality was they not only didn't not get into London, they were going to, I think, Nottingham or Birmingham or somewhere really far away. And they had no way to get from the airport to where they needed to get to. So I think sometimes it's just those really basic things. We might skirt over and think, oh yes, you would know it's a simple thing to do. Whereas someone who's coming into a new blank environment has no idea that they need to do those sorts of things. So finding opportunities is sort of where I want to sort of pivot this next question. What are some of the things that people can do to find opportunities, whether it is to find a course or to find a role, you know, or to just be present in the UK when they get here? What are some of the nuggets that you can share? And I'm going to come to Abimbola first.
Thank you, Taiwo. I think we've kind of talked about this in the rounds, but just to pull out the points, I think the first thing is to be clear about what you want to do. You know, opportunities, it depends on what you want to do. There are several opportunities. Some of them might be for you, some of them might not be. So if you're clear about what your goal is, what is it that you want to do? If you want to work, what kind of role do you want to work in? You have to be clear. That's one of the things that I kind of found with the MBA, because the MBA was more like a general course. It's not like I'm going into HR or I'm going into accounting or, I'm going into data analysis. You have to find what's your niche. What do you want to do? Because then there are professional bodies that support each specialism, and then you can start to look for volunteering opportunities, work opportunities, job opportunities with this specific kind of roles. So you have to be clear about what is it that you want to do. So I think that's the first thing. Then the second thing will be, once you're clear about what the goal is, then start looking for opportunities that help you develop the skills or take you closer towards that goal. So if you want to be a project manager, you need to understand what professional bodies are within the UK that support project management. That's an opportunity. You can join that network. They usually have groups and hubs and where people post jobs and stuff. But if you're not clear about the role you want to do, then you're just on the internet trying to find any kind of job. So you have to aim, you have to focus on what is the direction I want to take. Do I want to be a project manager? And even within specialisms, there are key niches in there as well. Do I want to be project, program, portfolio manager? Do I want to be a portfolio administrator? What is the specific direction you want to take? And then start to take steps towards that. So you can start to look for volunteering opportunities to build skills in that line so that you can use that for whatever job opportunities you're applying for. So I think one thing is being clear about what the job or kind of role you want is, and then tailoring your volunteering towards building skills for that role. So I think for me, because volunteering is a tool to help you get to where you want to get to. It's not just about volunteering, it's because you're trying to build skills for something you're trying to get. So for me, volunteering is an intentional piece. So I volunteer in roles where I want to build skills that I don't have or I want to mature in. So I'm quite intentional with the way I volunteer. So if you're specific about what's the role, the kind of role that I want to do, then you can start to find key opportunities in that line. Because as Pastor Emmy said, there's a lot of jobs out there right now. A lot of organizations are trying to recruit. And you might just go on a job board and see different jobs and think, oh, that's good, that looks okay, that looks all right. But it's not with the focus. It's not I think you have to be clear about what works for you best.
Yeah.
Will be my contribution to that.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Abimbola. Dr. Onya?
I think Pastor Emmy and Abimbola already touched on most things, but I will add just one more layer, one tiny little layer to it, which is to utilize LinkedIn. Pastor Emmy said this, so sometimes you might have this idea, I want to do XYZ, I want to be a project manager, but you don't really fully know what that's about. It looks good, sounds good, pays really good money, but you don't really have a sense of what that role involves. So what I would advise is build your profile as Pastor Emmy advised. And then, and on your profile, you have that about section where you can sort of put something short about what you're interested in or what you do. You can sort of put something towards what you're interested in. You can connect with people that are already doing what you want to do. For example, if you wanted to do change, I think that's Taiwo's area of expertise. You can connect with Taiwo and maybe take her for coffee. Don't just randomly, hey, take her for coffee and say, say, hi, Taiwo, I'd like to find out a little bit more about what your job entails and also how you got there. Can I just take you for a quick coffee at Costa, meet her up, ask her questions about her role, and learn from her. You can do this even online. You don't even have to meet physically anymore. You can do this on Zoom and get a sense of what the role is about so that you know if that's what you want to do. The other thing that would also be helpful, and this is something that I did, was before I got in to do my PhD, some companies do insight days. So it's almost like a one-day taster. You know how with food, you get a little sample size that you can taste. I did this with the management consulting company probably a day before I left for to Scotland. And the different departments, they talked us through each department. They talked to us, someone from HR came and spoke to us about how to apply. So these were sort of inside mic is. Can we mute Tyrone? Okay, great. So during the Insight Day, someone from HR came and gave us really useful information. I still have the booklet actually and the notes that I made for how to apply, what they're looking for specifically at this management consultancy. And then they took us through the different departments and what they do. Now, the role I was looking for, I had no clue. It just looked really flashy and nice to me. And I thought, man, I really want to do that. When they started talking about the position, I thought, I don't know if that's really where I would thrive or really get the best out of what I want in life. So take advantage of, you can look on these Insight Days. It's not that they're giving you a job. They're actually happy to have you come for these Insight Days. So go onto the website of the company that you're interested in, apply for those Insight Days, go along, ask them questions and meet people as well, because there'll be other people there. I think those are my contributions.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Onya. Just before I come to you, Pastor Emi, a few things came to my mind just as you were speaking there, Dr. Onya, as well. So a number of the if you think about consultancy, a number of the big consulting firms will have events where they go into universities as well to talk to potential students and try and get you to sort of come and work with them. So I think don't take those sort of events lightly, because they do actually showcase what the organization is about, what they do. And, you know, a lot of them are sort of big on diversity now. So they'll talk about, you know, them having people in the organization. If you're Black, Asian, minority ethnic, having people that look like you within the organization and what that means from a career trajectory. The other thing I wanted to say just very quickly about LinkedIn, and I think we've all spoken at length around, you know, the power of LinkedIn. And, you know, I've put the links in there for Abimbola's group. Please make sure you connect and join. There's some really, really useful resources that you can harness on there as well. The other thing I want to say very quickly about LinkedIn as well is, I think it allows you to do a search for up to 5 individuals. I think that's the maximum, it's either 5 or 3, that do a similar role to what you're looking for. So for example, like myself, I had a culture and communication, but I've worked in transformation for a lengthy amount of years. If you do a search for the profiles of those people that you sort of want to be in a role similar to or you aspire to, go on LinkedIn and see what they've put in their personal profile. Have a look at what they've put in their previous roles and the jobs that they've done. That will help you start to have an idea of how many roles am I away from this particular job title, or, you know, you want to be the CEO of a FTSE 100 company by the time you're 50, for example. It will help you see how many roles you need to do to get to that CEO level. What are some of the steps or career trajectory that those people have taken to get there? So just doing a simple search on LinkedIn for a role or a job title or where you want to be in your career in the next 2 years, 5 years, you know, it offers you that view into somebody else's world. And I think for me, I think it's also really, really, really important to look beyond the horizon of I'm studying, I'm doing a PhD, what am I doing now? And start to think about where you want that degree to take you. I've got a master's from Oxford, and I always say that because, you know, I've got an 18-year-old, and the first question they always ask me when we talk about universities, Mom, when you were studying at Oxford, how many Black people or Black boys were on your course? And, you know, for me, I know that universities are doing a lot more to get more diversity into their schools and get more people doing more courses that may not naturally reflect what the skills gap is, because that's the way I see it. I think to a certain extent, this is about a skills gap as well, because if there's a lack of diversity in leadership, that means, you know, there's no diversity in thought. The organizations are keen to bring people on board. To bring it back to LinkedIn, go and do a search on LinkedIn, look up the profiles of people that you want to aspire to be in a role that they're in, and look at how they got to where they got to. What are those jobs that they've done to get there, and see whether you can sort of mirror or match some of those things that they've done. to get to where you want to get to. Pastor Emi, I'm going to come to you for the sort of our final point on finding opportunities. What are the things that people can do to land those opportunities?
Yeah, so I think we've had quite a robust conversation here about finding opportunities. And, I'll just wrap up what everybody has said. Abimbola said, set your goals, plan, what is it that you want to do? Dr. Anya's like, try and explore these other opportunities, maximizing LinkedIn as you can. How we've touched on that as well. But I do feel that people just need to declare what it is that they want to do and stick to it. Like I said, I wanted to work in HR, and initially it took me a long time. I think I started my master's in January, and I did not get that volunteer HR job till like June, July. But I did not come back from it. So you have to be diligent. You have to be resilient. You have to be determined. All of these things that we've said, if you don't have these qualities, if you don't apply them, honestly, you're going to be like, the way those guys were talking in that seminar was like, everything is easy. Listen to me. You have to work hard. It's like nothing is given to any lazy person in this country. And if people want to be lazy, then, they have situations and circumstances that apply to them, right? But essentially, you have to work hard. You want to get the job of your dreams, you have to work for it. That's why I said in my presentation that getting a job is a job, right? You start at 9 a.m. and you finish at 5 p.m. What have you been doing today? I've been applying for jobs. You are dedicated to it. You are reviewing your CV, doing your cover letter, understanding the organization, putting your application. You send this, they say, thank you for your application. Unfortunately, on this occasion, say, thank you very much. My fortunately is coming. So you have to keep going for it. You need to put in an application. Some of us put in thousands, and that's why I said you might even need to step back a bit and be more intentional about where you put your application. Some people just click apply. They're not reading the job advert properly. They don't really care about what the job is offering. They don't know whether or not they just, let me just apply for everything. One of them will land. Listen to me. Don't do that. There's this or that. If it's not, it's this or that. No, be more intentional about where you're sending your CV. Work on the cover letter. So spend more time working on the application than just clicking apply. Because if you put your CV and cover letter generic, you can apply for 100 jobs a day, all right? So be intentional about what you're doing. I just want to come in
quickly, Pastor. Sorry to speak over you, just very quickly on that point you made there around applications. In the current world of work, there's something called AI, artificial intelligence, that sifts CVs. If it sees a particular CV a number of times, it's looking for keywords. So if those keywords are not in your CV, or it continues to see a CV with a particular name or style, it can auto reject you. So please make sure that you put your front foot first in applying, and don't sort of fall at the first hurdle. And then you say, I've made 10,000 applications in the last 1 month. Those 10,000 applications need to be focused. You need to know why you're applying to that organization or what you're doing, because otherwise a tiny little bot in their application system will consistently throw you out. And that is the worst thing. Getting those rejection emails are the worst experience when you're applying for a job. I can tell you that because I sat there. I've had hundreds of applications that have been rejected. The other thing I want to say quickly, Pastor, and I'll come back to you, is when people personally, so there's two ways you can get a rejection. You can either get a generic email from an automated mailbox. There's nothing fancy to it. It just says, thank you very much. Yeah, those ones you can ignore. When someone specifically with a name comes back and says, thank you very much for your application, we found other candidates, that means you've been shortlisted to a degree. Someone somewhere, a human being has gone through your application. Please, 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 and please, always make sure you write back to that individual and say, thank you very much. Here's why, I think you responding to me and not shortlisting me this time is great, but I will keep an eye out on your career portal and I'll keep looking, because yours is an organization I really want to join. I think that just puts you one step ahead of every single other person that gets a rejection email. And I've heard of people getting follow-on jobs from responding to rejection emails. So, when you're in that place where you're applying for jobs, you will try almost anything. So that's probably something else to add to your arsenal. If somebody specifically with a name and an email address responds to you to say, thank you very much, but no thanks, make sure you go back and say, thank you very much, but no thanks, but no thanks, but thanks, so that they know that there's a human being behind the application as well. Pastor Amy, let me come back to you, please. Apologies, I interrupted.
Yeah, I think Abimbola has got her hands up, so I'll let her come in at this point. Abimbola, do you want to go ahead?
So I just wanted to touch on that point where you were talking about making hundreds and thousands of applications. So I have this specific experience that I like to share, because every time I hear myself say it, I just but laugh. So I was applying for a role with an organization, and in the job description, they used the term SME in there. And because of my background, I was working with small, medium organizations in Lagos. So I just immediately transitioned to that thinking, that's what they want. And so I wrote an entire CV explaining how I fit into a role they were in advertising for. So what they meant by SME was a subject matter expert. So, and I say that story over and over again, just to reiterate the point that there's a way that you can assume what is intended. But most jobs would say there's a recruiting person you can contact. If you find a job that you like, you want to apply for, make the effort to contact the recruiting manager or the point of contact if they have it on there. That really helps, because the person would explain what that role is to you, and then you can tailor your application better. So if there's an opportunity to do that as well, please do. Don't be like me. Because I felt like I had done that application justice, but when I got the rejection and then I read the entire thing again, I realized my mistake. So read the job adverts very well, so you don't fall into those kind of traps.
Indeed. I mean, we can do a whole seminar on applying for jobs and getting a job, right? And so I think for us, it's just that helping you begin to think in a certain way about how you can transition from studying to working. And I think if you take everything that has been said today around getting into the workplace, you will find yourself in a really good position to secure that first job. And you've got details here where you can explore more if you follow the individual facilitators of the discussion about how you can progress, including if you want to move up academically, right? You want to become a lecturer like Dr. Onya, or you want to become a professor, that's your own path, then you can get more information if you chase us as well. Taiwo, over to you. We've got a poll. We would like everyone, thank you so much for being here to this time. We've got a poll. Before you leave, we'd like everyone to just please respond to the poll and to answer the questions. We've got, about 29 people on the call. If you're on Zoom, if you can just please respond to that poll. It will take you like 2 minutes to respond to the poll. It's really helpful for us. For you to respond to the poll. If you've got any comments about the event, what you would like to see more of or less of, please do send us an email to hello@kingswelllondon.org, and we'll be quite happy to come back to you with responses. Like our moderator has said today, this event has been hosted by a church in London. It's Kingswell International Church, and we are doing this as part of our response to the need, but also because we want to make an impact and a difference for those who are in this space as students who are new to the United Kingdom. So this event was especially for international students who are studying postgraduate degrees, but we know that people who are doing first degrees who have also just relocated here, or even those who have grown up here to some extent, have joined the event to kind of understand what is happening in this space. So many thanks to everyone who was able to join us today. And we hope that you've learned a lot and that you're able to take a lot of cues from what we said. Can you still all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Pastor.
Okay, brilliant. All right, something has happened to my camera.
No, it's fine. We can hear you. We can't see, but we can hear you. I just want to add very quickly to what you said there. I want to thank everyone because the numbers have just stayed since we came on the session this morning. So please celebrate yourselves in the chat. Please put a emoji to just say how you're feeling about today's session. If you don't want to thank anybody, thank yourself for staying on and getting all the nuggets of information that you've gotten this morning, because this itself is an investment in yourself. This is a self-investment. And, you know, for me to you, you've done really well being here this morning. So huge, huge, huge thank you. Celebrate yourselves, celebrate our panelists as well. A fantastic, fantastic work I think they've done, phenomenal. Huge thank you to Dr. Onya, huge thank you to Abimbola, huge thank you to Pastor Emi Akilada. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, you can connect with us on all of the social media channels that's been listed on there in terms of Kingswood Church London. You can drop us an email as well. And you can also please take time to join Abimbola's group on LinkedIn. We still got another sort of 7 or 8 more people to complete the poll. So please, it should just pop up on your screen. It helps us to keep these events going. I think when Pastor Amy had the vision or the idea to create this, we didn't think that we're going to have so many iterations of it, but it's been such a blessing. It's been a joy to hear your feedback. Oluwebube, thank you so much for your feedback. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for your comments. Thank you, everyone. Eniela Bolu Atife. I'm just scrolling through. Thank you. There's somebody else I wanted to thank. Oluwatosin, thank you so much for your feedback. And please connect with us across all of those channels.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Anne.
There you go.
A number of people. Zainab is there. Oluwebube as well. So thank you to everyone who's been sharing in the comment section. And thank you to everyone who's completed the polls as well. I think we've got 86% participation in the polls. That's absolutely brilliant. So thank you to everyone who has done that. The poll will end any minute. So if you're still going through it, please just finish up quickly as we want to bring the seminar to an end. So thank you once again to everyone who has been a part of this seminar today. I mean, we could have done all of this work. We could have, done the homework, brought the information in. And if nobody turned up, then would have been talking to ourselves. I want to appreciate everyone who's also on YouTube. There were a number of people who were watching and participating on YouTube as well. So many thanks to everyone there. So like I've said, it's Kingswood International Church in London. If you're in London, we invite you to join us on Sunday when you're free. We also have all of our social media links to our social media platforms that have been put in the chat. I'm just going to end the poll any minute now, or Tara, I don't know if you're able to do that as well.
I just saw someone sort of squeeze a response in, so I thought we'll just leave it for another 30 seconds. I think we're only waiting for 3 more people. So if you haven't completed the poll, please help us get to 100%. And that
would be lovely.
I know it would be nice. It'll be a first for us. So please, if you haven't completed the poll, help us get to 100% and complete the poll. But yes.
Follow us. We've got our social media links, and we'll just put that in the chat. Do follow us. Like we said, this is the 3rd edition of this event, and we're looking to do another one in September, just after the schools open up for a new session. So we're putting the link to Succeeding at and Beyond University 2.0 in the chat. So please do go take a look. I know we had a lot of IT experts in that particular session. We had somebody from the NHS in that session as well. So you might want to just follow the link and go and watch that session if any of those areas are of particular interest to you. You will find it really, really helpful to engage with those sessions on that platform. So thank you so much, everyone. At this point, I think we've had a fantastic time. Thank you for responding to our poll. We look forward to doing more and more of these sessions. And yeah, we look forward to hearing your stories. If you want to connect with us on LinkedIn, please feel free. If you have any more questions, please feel free to send it to us on hello@kingswoodlondon.org. Thank you so much, everyone. All the best in your studies, in your master's or whatever postgraduate qualification or educational qualification you're going for. and all the best in your transition into the UK workforce. Bye for now. Our facilitators, if you'd like to say bye to everyone, please do unmute your microphones and say a fun farewell.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Taiwo, Abimbola, and Pastor
Thank you, Taiwo,
Great being on
for
the panel with
moderating.
you.
Fantastic as usual. And thank you to everyone for joining.
Thank you. Thank you,
Enjoy the rest of your
everyone.
bank holiday.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye
Bye,
for now.
everyone.
Bye.